What if a love so deep never truly ends? What if, even after death, it still guides every choice, every heartbeat, every moment forward? Amy Fleming's heart was shaped by one man, Ty Borden. And now, in Heartland Season 19, fans are asking the question no one dared to ask before. Is her love story really over? Or is it just changing? The love that never faded, Amy and Ty's legacy. Before there was heartbreak, there was a beginning, raw, real, and unforgettable. Ty Borden entered Amy's life when she was still just a girl, healing from her mother's death. He came with a past, a troubled soul trying to find a second chance. Amy didn't run from him. She looked past the walls he had built. And in return, Ty didn't just fall in love with her. He became part of her. Through every ride, every argument, every silent glance, their bond grew stronger. They weren't perfect, but they were honest. They faced storms together. They built dreams together. And eventually, they raised a daughter together. For 14 seasons, Ty and Amy weren't just a couple. They were the heartbeat of Heartland. When Ty died, it didn't just change Amy. It broke the rhythm of the show. It shocked fans around the world. His death wasn't just a plot point. It was a goodbye we weren't ready for. And yet Amy didn't collapse. She didn't run away. She stayed, for Lindy, for the horses, for the ranch, but most of all, to keep Ty's memory alive in everything she did. Whether she was helping a client, talking with Jack, or standing quietly near their old tree, there was always a piece of him with her. Not in words, but in the silence, in the strength she carried. But love like that doesn't disappear. It becomes part of your skin. And for Amy, it's in her every breath. That's why, when fans watch her now, even seasons later, they still feel Ty in the air. His legacy lives on in Lindy's laugh, in the way Amy looks when no one's watching, in the way she holds back when someone gets too close. She isn't bitter. She isn't cold. She's careful. Because the kind of love she had with Ty, it's not something you move on from. It's something you learn to live with. As season 19 approaches, the question becomes heavier. Can someone else stand in that space? Can another man ever understand Amy the way Ty did? Could she ever let someone in without feeling like she's betraying the past? These aren't just fan theories. These are emotional truths, the kind that reflect real life. Because grief isn't a straight road, and love doesn't die just because a heartbeat stops. Amy and Ty's story didn't just fill screens, it filled hearts. And now, as viewers hold their breath, the shadow of that love still follows Amy's every step. Whether she finds a new path or not, one thing is clear. Ty isn't just in the past. He's part of her forever. And if anyone hopes to walk beside her again, they'll have to walk with his memory too. Some wounds don't bleed on the outside, and some people, like Amy, learn to smile with a broken heart. After Ty's death, the world kept turning. Horses still needed care. Lindy still needed her mother. The ranch still needed her hands, but inside Amy, everything had changed. Ty wasn't just her husband, he was her safe place, her best friend, her other half. Without him, the silence around her grew loud. And yet, Amy didn't fall apart. She got up. She worked. She moved through her pain like a quiet storm no one saw coming. In season 15, we saw a version of Amy we had never seen before. Alone, yet never fully lonely. Lost, yet never truly broken. Every morning, she carried herself with grace. But behind her calm eyes was a woman who wasn't just trying to move forward, she was trying to protect herself. She smiled for Lindy. She focused on training horses. She leaned on Jack and Lou when she needed to. But love, romance, she kept. Those doors locked, too tightly shut, because opening them meant risking more pain. Viewers noticed it. That soft sadness in Amy's voice when someone mentioned Ty. The way she avoided certain topics. The long stares into the distance when no one was talking. These weren't signs of weakness. They were proof of deep love. But they also made fans ask, has Amy truly healed? Or is she just hiding the deepest parts of her heart? Even as months turned into years, Amy stayed away from anything that looked like a new beginning. Caleb tried to be a friend. Sam offered support. But Amy never let anyone step too close. Because what if loving again meant forgetting Ty? What if moving on felt like leaving him behind? And what if her heart just wasn't ready, even if her smile said it was? Then something unexpected happened. Amy began to find strength in her solitude. She started making decisions with more confidence. She focused on building a good life for Lindy. She became a mother not just in practice, but in spirit. A woman who had loved deeply, lost painfully, and was now standing, alone but proud. But deep inside, fans wondered something else. Was Amy's silence really strength? Or was it fear wearing a mask? Was she healing, or was she hiding from the idea that one day, someone new might ask for her heart? This is the tension season 19 is holding in its hands. Because Amy has built a peaceful life, but it's quiet, safe, predictable. Is that really enough? Or is something missing? Maybe. Just maybe. Love hasn't left her life. Maybe it's just waiting for her to be ready again. But the real question is, will she ever let herself be ready? He didn't come with big words or grand promises. Nathan just showed up, quiet, respectful, and steady. And maybe that's what made him different. He wasn't trying to fix Amy. He wasn't chasing her. He simply stood beside her when she needed help, offered silence when words felt too heavy, and gave her the space no one else thought to give. At first, no one thought much of it. Amy had met many people since Ty passed. But Nathan, something about him felt different, like he wasn't trying to replace anyone. He was just trying to understand her. In season 18, we started to see little moments that felt almost invisible, unless you were paying close attention. The way Nathan looked at Amy when she spoke about horses, the way he listened without interrupting, the way Amy let her guard down just a little around him. Not much, but enough to make fans pause. Was there something building between them? Or were they just two people trying to survive grief in their own quiet ways? Nathan didn't try to charm his way in. He didn't flirt. He didn't push. But he showed up. When Lindy needed help, he was there. When something broke at the ranch, he fixed it. And slowly, something changed. Not just in how Amy looked at him, but in how she looked at herself. For the first time in a long while, she smiled in a way that wasn't forced. A small, gentle kind of smile. The kind that said, maybe I'm not alone after all. Of course, fans are divided. Some say it's too soon. Others say Amy will never love anyone the way she loved Ty. And maybe that's true. But maybe it's also true that hearts don't have to love the same way twice. Maybe a second love doesn't erase the first. Maybe it simply grows in the empty spaces left behind. But what if Nathan's role is bigger than we thought? What if the writers planted him not as a side character, but as a true test for Amy's future? His calm presence, his respect for her, pain, his bond with Lindy, it all feels too intentional to ignore. Could he be the man who finally steps into the quiet places Ty left behind, not to replace him, but to walk beside the memory of him? Or could this all be a setup? Could Nathan be a gentle distraction, meant to help Amy grow, but not meant to stay? Some fans believe he's only there to remind Amy that her heart is still alive, that she can still care, still laugh, still trust. But when the real moment comes, when Amy must choose between holding on and reaching forward, will it be Nathan she sees? There's no clear answer. That's what makes this twist in season 19 so powerful. Because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it walks in softly, waits patiently, and hopes quietly. And Nathan? He might just be that quiet hope. What if the story isn't finished? What if the person we all said goodbye to still has something left to say? In the world of Heartland, Ty Borden's death was final. But in the world of television, not everything stays buried forever. Over the past few months, rumors have started to spread. Quiet whispers from behind the scenes, fan theories catching fire online, and a few mysterious clues that no one can explain. Could Ty return in Heartland? Season 19, not in the way we remember him, but in a way that still changes everything. It started with a few small leaks, a script page left in view during a cast interview, a scene description mentioning a dream, a photo of Amy standing alone at a familiar tree, but with 2 cups instead of 1. Nothing confirmed, nothing clear, but enough to make fans lean forward and ask, is Heartland setting up a twist? Is Ty coming back, not alive, but in memory, in flashback, or in spirit? Then there was Graham Wardle himself. He stayed mostly quiet since leaving the show, focusing on his podcast and personal growth. But recently fans noticed something strange. In an online Q&A, he smiled when asked about Heartland's future. He didn't say no, he said, anything's possible in a world built on love. A simple line, but it echoed louder than expected. Was it a tease, a clue, or just a kind thought? No one knows. But it only added fuel to the fire. And what would a return even look like? Maybe it's a dream Amy has, one that feels so real, she wakes up in tears. Maybe it's a voiceover, a letter, or a video message Ty recorded before he died. Something that brings his presence back into her life just when she needs it most. Not to undo her healing, but to remind her that she's allowed to live, allowed to love again, without forgetting him. This idea doesn't just shake the fans.
Shaking. We must leave. They're close. No, Jacob said. We'll prepare. He brought out an old storage crate from his shed. Inside were pieces of tech, leftover wiring, heat bombs, and jamming tools from his army days. Talani watched in silence as he worked, fixing cameras, setting motion traps, and sealing doors. I never wanted to fight again, Jacob muttered, but for her, I will. Night came quickly. Riva fell asleep wrapped in her mother's arms. Jacob and Talani sat near the door, weapons in hand. Hours passed. Silence. Then a sound, faint like soft clicking. Not human footsteps, not animal either. Talani grabbed Jacob's arm. That's them, bone walkers, they're hunters. Suddenly a sensor beeped. Something was near the back door. Jacob raised his weapon. Talani moved quietly toward Riva. Then a voice came, metallic and cold. Return the girl and we will not harm the male. Jacob's eyes narrowed. She's not going anywhere. There was silence again. Then a whisper. This time from Riva. No more running, she said. I'll help. She stood up, walked to Jacob's scanner again, and placed her hand over it. The machine buzzed and glowed bright gold. A signal burst out, wider than expected. It hit the area like a wave. Outside, something screamed, loud, digital, glitching. Talani gasped. She shut down their tech. Jacob looked at the child, in shock. She's not a key, she's a weapon. Outside, the alien hunters scrambled. Their helmets sparked. Their vision failed. Jacob opened the door and fired one clean shot into the dark, followed by silence. They were gone. Talani rushed to Riva, hugging her tightly. You saved us. But Riva looked up at Jacob and said one thing that chilled him to the core. They're not the only ones coming. And in that moment, Jacob knew this was far from over. The price of shelter. The colony lights flickered again, but this time not from the storm. Jacob stood at the edge of his property, staring into the distant tree line where shadows moved like whispers. The last encounter had bought them time, but not safety. Something deeper had been triggered. Someone or something had heard Riva's pulse through the stars. Back inside, Talani checked Riva's temperature. The child looked calm, but her skin was warm, too warm. Energy flowed through her like fire beneath the skin. Whatever she had done the night before had drained her. Now, her body trembled in her mother's arms. She's changing, Talani said softly. Every time she uses that gift, it costs her. Jacob felt the heaviness of those words. He had dealt with soldiers who pushed themselves too far, who paid in blood for using forbidden tech or untested implants. Riva was just a child. She shouldn't be paying anything. But before he could reply, a loud knock shook the door. Not soft, not desperate, commanding. Jacob raised his weapon. "Get behind the wall. Don't speak." He opened the door slowly and found two men standing there. Not aliens, humans, but dressed in black military armor that bore no colony logo. Their weapons were holstered, but their eyes were not friendly. "Jacob Crow?" the taller one asked. "Depends," Jacob answered. "We're with Division 7. We're looking for a stolen alien experiment. Dangerous biotech, looks like a child. Seen anything unusual?" Jacob held the door tighter. "This isn't a checkpoint. You have no right to search." The man smiled coldly. "You're housing a risk. If she activates again, she could fry more than just a few old trackers. We picked up the wave from 3 sectors away." Behind the wall, Riva shivered. Talani whispered to her, "Don't make a sound. Don't even breathe loud." Jacob's heart raced. He had handled aliens before, pirates, criminals, but this was worse. These men had authority and no soul. "I haven't seen anything," Jacob said flatly. "Just a man with tools and an old heater." The other agent raised a device. "Mind if we scan the place?" Jacob smirked. "I do." There was a long pause. The taller one leaned in. "We'll be back, and when we return, we won't knock." They turned and walked off into the mist. As the door closed, Talani ran to Jacob. "They know. They'll come again?" "I figured." "What now?" she asked. Jacob looked at the scanner Riva had touched last night. Its glow had faded, but a strange warmth remained. He spoke slowly. "They're not after her because she's a threat. They want to own her, use her." Talani's voice cracked. "She was born in chains. I just wanted her to be free." "She can be," Jacob said, "but not if we keep hiding." He opened a hidden wall panel and pulled out a small device, a beacon, military grade, illegal to use unless you wanted attention. "What is that?" Talani asked. "A call," Jacob replied, "to someone who hates Division 7 more than I do." He activated it. Somewhere across the colony, a signal flared. Later that night, while Talani and Riva rested, a figure arrived, a woman with metal arms and sharp eyes. She wore no badge but walked like a soldier. Jacob met her outside. "You called," she said. "Didn't think you ever would again." "I've got a problem," Jacob said. "An innocent girl with the power to break systems, and a mother who's already lost too much." The woman looked through the window, her expression softening. "So it's true. They made a living key." "I don't want her to be a weapon," Jacob said. "I want her to be a child." The woman sighed. "Then you better be ready, because from this point on there's no turning back. Division 7 won't stop. And now that you've called me, neither will I." Inside the home, Riva opened her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Not from fear, but from knowing. The world had found her. And now she had to decide whether to run again or finally stand. A father without blood. The night sky burned faint with distant stars, but inside Jacob's home, time seemed frozen. Riva lay still, her body recovering from the energy she had unleashed. Talani sat beside her, running her fingers gently through her daughter's fine silver hair, whispering soft lullabies in her native tongue. Jacob stood nearby, watching them with quiet eyes. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Something had changed between them, not just protection, but something deeper. A silent promise had formed. Morning came slowly. Riva was better now, eating, moving, even giving the smallest smiles. Jacob had built a small toy from leftover wiring and handed it to her without a word. She held it like a treasure. Talani noticed. For the first time, her daughter looked like a child again. Later, while Riva napped, Talani joined Jacob outside. The ground was soft underfoot, the wind calmer than before. She smiled today, she said quietly. Jacob nodded. She deserves to. There was a pause. Talani turned to him. Do you know why I offered myself to you that night? Jacob looked at her, surprised. Because you were desperate. She shook her head. No, I wasn't just desperate. I was finished. My people, when we believe death is near, we give ourselves to another in exchange for our child's chance. You could have used me, thrown me away, but you didn't. Jacob looked away. You shouldn't have had to offer anything. She smiled sadly. But I did, and you gave back more than safety. You gave her dignity. Jacob sat down on the edge of the platform. I've seen war. I've buried friends. I thought I'd shut out the world to stop feeling. But Riva, she made me feel again. And you, Talani, you made me care again. Talani walked over and knelt beside him. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but something deeper. No male of my kind ever held my child. No one even wanted to look at her. But you made her laugh. You fixed her toy. You fixed me. Jacob met her gaze. I didn't fix anything. I just saw what no one else did. No, she whispered. You chose to see it. The moment stretched. The wind carried only silence. Then, Riva's voice came from inside. Where's Papa? Talani gasped and turned toward the house. She's never said that word before. She whispered. Jacob froze. Something deep inside him cracked open. He stood slowly, unsure what to say. He had no blood tie to Riva. He wasn't even of her species, but somehow those words meant more than anything he'd heard in years. He walked inside. Riva stood there, blinking sleep from her eyes. Papa? She asked again. Jacob knelt and opened his arms. I'm here, he said softly. She ran into him, hugging him tightly. Outside, Talani wiped her tears. In that single moment, no law, no science, no DNA could argue it. Jacob was her father now, and he would protect her not as a hero, but as family. The sun broke gently over the horizon, casting golden light through the windows of Jacob's small home. But this morning felt different. It wasn't just the end of a long night. It was the end of an old life and the quiet beginning of something new. Inside, Riva laughed. A small clear laugh that filled the home like music. She was playing with the same toy Jacob had made her, only now she'd modified it, added a glowing crystal to its core. The toy hovered now, floating gently in the air. She had no formal training, just instinct. Talani watched from the doorway, her arms crossed but her expression soft. Her daughter, once called an experiment, was finally smiling like a child. And it wasn't just because she felt safe. It was because, for the first time, she felt wanted. Jacob walked in from outside, his jacket dusty, tools in hand. The perimeter's clear. No signs of movement since the last sweep. Looks like Division 7 is gone. Talani didn't look relieved. They're never really gone. Just waiting for orders. I know, Jacob said, but we're not waiting anymore either. She looked at him, unsure. What do you mean? He took a deep breath. We're leaving this place. I've reached out to old contacts, people who don't answer to governments. They have a ship, a safe zone, a place where no scanners or politics can touch us. Talani stepped forward. You'd really give all this up? Your home? He smiled. This isn't a home anymore, they are. From the corner, Riva peeked up. Are we flying today? Jacob nodded. Yeah, Starlight, we're flying. They packed light. Talani wrapped Riva in a soft scarf, one Jacob had made, from old cloth. The girl held her floating toy close as they walked to the edge of the landing zone where a sleek, silent ship waited. It wasn't fancy, but it was free. Before boarding, Talani looked back one last time. The home where she had first knocked. The place where she had begged, cried, offered herself in shame. Now she left it not as a burden, but as someone loved. As they lifted into the stars, Riva leaned against Jacob's arm. Are you really my papa now? She asked. Jacob looked down at her, eyes firm and warm. No papers, no blood. But yes, I always was. She smiled. Even if I'm strange? He ruffled her hair. Especially because you're strange. Talani laughed softly, tears in her eyes. No longer slaves, no longer hunted, no longer alone. They weren't chosen by fate. They were chosen by each other, and in the great silence of space, that kind of love was the loudest thing of all.